RC Law Group. We are an employment and personal injury law firm. We focus mainly on employer and employee issues with the employment law, and the personal injury do a lot of auto accidents, slip and falls. On the employer side, we either do employer defense work or employee work if someone's suing their employer or if they have an issue with their employer that we can assist them with.
Okay. Did you always know that you would be in this industry?
No. So I started off as a dancer.
Okay.
I always knew I was going to go to law school. I just thought it was going to be later on in life.
Okay.
I busted my knee at my final audition for The Lion King.
No way. The Lion King is here now.
Is here
right?
now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the traveling company though, but this one was the initial one in Broadway.
Okay.
So that was 1999.
Okay.
Made it to the final audition. Was doing a pirouette. Popped my ACL.
I don't think I
And
that story.
yeah. Then I came back to Miami, worked for a couple of years, doing odd sales jobs. I was working with a lot of large Miami law firms downtown, selling them printers.
Okay.
And then that got old really fast, and I decided to go to law school early.
Okay.
So took the LSAT and started looking at law schools, and for family reasons decided to stay here in Miami and went to law school here in Miami. Been practicing here now. On May 15th, made 14 years since I graduated from law school.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. I see a lot of degrees on
There's a lot of
your
degrees.
wall. Tell me about
There's
them.
one that's missing because that's my mom's and she kept that one.
Okay.
But I was a double major at Florida State with
Okay.
dance and marketing. And then I went to St. Thomas School of Law, graduated there. And then, so the others that you see are actually either law review on law school. It's a prestigious thing to be on a law review.
Okay.
And also for moot court. Moot court is sort of it's an organization within the law school, and you go to competitions and basically argue cases, etc. For fun. It's part of law school. It's part of the law school experience. So those are the two down here, and then there's my state of Florida certificate saying that I'm barred.
You're official.
I'm official.
Okay.
Yes.
So, was your decision to become an attorney influenced by anyone?
Yes and no. So growing up, everybody always said, you need to be a lawyer because you need to argue. So that was always sort of there. My aunt has a law office in Trinidad, and after school, when I was very little, she would pick me up, and I would stay in her law library. So I've always liked just the feel of it. I love the smell of old books. I mean, it's just very weird. I still like reading books, even though I have a Kindle. I still like actually reading books.
Okay.
But I think what influenced me most of all to do what I'm doing now is to see the unfairness in the workplace, and it affects people's daily lives. So I have a lot of friends who do family law because it affects people's lives. But on the employment side, I mean, everyone has to work, right? Everyone has to go to work, and so fairness in the employment, in the workplace, I should say, is an issue for me. Especially, my employment practice focuses mainly on high-level executive women. I have other clients, of course, but my main passion are those women who have, like us, gone to school, worked really hard, worked their way up in a company, and then they sort of hit that glass ceiling and they're unable to break through it. So
which is very frustrating.
It's extremely frustrating.
So, when you started your introduction, you said that you were a managing partner, which means you own your law firm.
I own my law firm.
Walk me through that journey, because you just don't graduate from law school.
Some people do.
Really?
Some people do, and I have a lot of friends who graduated with me who never worked for anyone. They went out and started their own practice. I didn't have that entrepreneurial mindset at that time. My goal was always to go to a big law firm, make partner, live that movie star life. And I had that life.
Okay.
Right? So I started off working for a medium-sized law firm I actually clerked for them during law school. And then I got hired by a very large national firm. I worked there for about 7 years, actually about 6. And then I transferred, and that was just part of the business. I moved firms because I had a lot of business, just trying to negotiate a higher salary and partnership and all of that. And then I went to another large national firm in Fort Lauderdale and had some personal issues happen in my life and decided I didn't want to work for anybody anymore. I just said, I can do this on my own.
Okay.
So there was an issue of me not being mentored properly. I mean, for a good part of 10 years, I was the only woman of color in my firms.
Okay.
So that played a big part of it for me.
Okay. What challenges did you face along the way?
The mentorship.
The
mentorship for sure. Just not having anyone really take the time to sort of walk you through it. A lot of lawyers, a lot of my counterparts, their parents are lawyers, their aunts are lawyers, their uncles. I mean, it's sort of a family business for them. So to walk them through that lifestyle is sort of the norm for them. For me, it wasn't. I did, however, seek out mentorship, I should say, with the Black Lawyers Association, Gwen Cherry Black Women's Lawyers Association, the Caribbean Bar Association, and sought members along those ways who sort of helped me through the path I was walking. So, there's different paths to law. You can go public sector law, you can go private firm, and then you have the large, big firm law, which is where I was, and it was sort of hard to navigate that area. So unless you really have someone taking your hand and leading you through that path, it's very, very difficult.
I often hear attorneys gripe, maybe I should not use the word gripe.
It's great.
Have issues with billing, billable hours.
Billable hours.
Tell me about billable hours.
Billable hours, that's how you get paid.
Okay.
So for me now in this firm, I have to keep track of my hours because for those clients that I do bill hourly, so for example, if I'm billing you at $400 an hour, you want to see what I'm doing for that money. It's a large sum of money. So you have to keep track of your hours. You have to give detailed descriptions of what you're doing so that the client knows, hey, this is what I'm paying for. At the firm that I say all of the firms, so you had billing requirements, which means as an associate, you had to bill a certain amount of hours per year. At one of my firms, the billing requirement was 2,000 hours a year, which equates to about 180 hours a month. Okay, so divide that by 4.
So that's more than 40 hours a week.
That's more than 40 hours a week. And then what they don't tell you is billing is an art form. So in order for you to bill 40 hours a week, you're usually there 60 hours a week. I mean, unless you're one of some of these people who are just great at billing, and I have a friend and she's amazing she's able to recapture every single minute of her time. I just wasn't one of those people. I'm still not one of those people. I probably cheat myself because I write down bills all the time, thinking I shouldn't spend that amount of time on something. But sometimes you do. Sometimes research takes hours, and you have to bill the client for your time because that's how you make money. So that's what billable hours are.
Okay, thank you.
Billable hours are,
because I hear about it and I didn't quite understood. I didn't quite understand what that meant, and I know that there are some people who are going to watch these videos who are looking to become an attorney, and I think that that's something that they should take into consideration when they say they want
and they don't
to be
teach you it in law school, right? So that's the other part of mentorship that I'm talking about. Somebody really has to sit down with you and say, listen, this is how you need to bill for this, so that the client understands. And thankfully, I had great people along the way who, I mean, they were doing it because they wanted to get paid for the work I was doing, right? But it helped me now in my own firm because I'm able to recapture my time and get paid, and that's how I get paid at the end of the day. Now, not all lawyers bill. Public sector lawyers, I mean, I'm sure they have to keep track of their time, but they're not on a billing requirement
Right.
per se. That being said, they're not getting paid as much as someone who's in a large law firm, because the large law firm is billing you out at a certain rate. You have to make those hours so that you remain employed, but also it goes through your bonuses and all of that stuff, those extra things at the end of the day. So
This sounds like a very challenging
it is.
industry to be in, and everybody has to have a support system.
Yes.
Who would you consider to be your largest cheerleader?
My husband.
Your husband?
Because if he wasn't getting up with the baby, you know, getting him off to school or picking up on days I can't, or taking care of him when I'm in trial and pretty much a zombie for a week at a time, this would not be happening. And also my mom.
Okay.
Because my mom will step in and help that. But so I say my husband and my mom, because my mom's always been the one, you can do whatever you want to do, just do it well.
Okay.
And she's been the driving force. So yeah.
Okay. And without getting too much into your business,
Uh-huh.
I know that the watchers are dying to know, what is the salary like? Is the salary what you expected to make post graduation?
No. So to go to law school, unless you have parents who are wealthy and willing to put out $100,000 or more
Okay.
for you to go to grad school, you take loans.
Mm-hmm.
And so with those loans come heavy repayments after you graduate. You have to look for a job that's going to allow you to make those $1,000 to $1,500 payments per month. And so, like, I didn't have any loans coming out of undergrad.
Okay.
All of my student loans came from law school. So I had to make sure that I had a job that would support my bills, plus, you know, allow me to live a nice life.
Right.
Because I'm working really hard.
Right.
So while I would have liked to maybe go to the state attorney's office or the public defender's office right out of law school at $40,000-$50,000 a year, that just wasn't a choice for me. So I ended up going to a private firm. I would say I didn't get comfortable with my salary until I was about 4 or 5 years out of law school, because that's when I sort of hit the 6-figure mark, and I felt like, okay, I'm making what I'm supposed to be making as a lawyer.
Okay.
I'm very blessed in that when I left my firm, and I was making a significant amount of money at that firm, I was able to match that my first year and continue to match that.
Congratulations.
So we're going on 5 years now.
Okay.
September will be 5 years since I've started my firm, and it's worked out so far.
And it will continue to work out.
We will pray.
What is the most rewarding part of your job? Because I hear that it's a lot.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and I will tell you the reward is few and far between, in that the satisfaction that you're helping someone, you know, whether it be someone recovering their money from an auto accident or and being able to buy a new car. I mean, those are the grateful times where you're able to hand the client a check and say, you know, here you go. Or it's getting someone out of a sticky employment situation where they're uncomfortable in their workplace, but they have to go to work because they've got kids to feed.
Right.
You know, so those are the gratifying parts of it, but they're few and far between, because there's a lot of work that goes on in the midst of that, and you really don't get that towards the end. So
What's the most challenging part?
The most challenging part, and I'll be very honest with you at this stage, is the court system.
Okay.
We have a deeply flawed system. We have judges who are not doing their jobs.
Okay.
Some are. We have, you know, judges who have inherent biasness in their own being, that right now, especially in the employment field, they're making laws that are making it very difficult for people to bring employment claims.
Okay.
And what I see most affected are Black females.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just be very honest with that. And it's something that's plaguing me this week, because I got a really bad decision this week, and it's the second bad decision I've gotten from one of my high level, executives who's a Black female, Harvard grad. It's very difficult to have to say to a client, look, the court didn't agree with us.
Okay.
And I can't explain to the client, I can't explain to the client what the court's decision was, but I have to look at them and say, I disagree, but your hands are sort of tied. You've got politicians who are making decisions on bills and legislation, and then you've got, most of my work is in federal court,
Mm-hmm.
and those are appointed judges. Most of them tend to be part of the old boys club.
Okay.
And so, you get that, we don't have a very diverse bench yet. And so that's the most challenging part of it, is that you're litigating cases that the case law is set up against you.
Okay.
So that can be very stressful.
Okay, so can you give me some words of advice for young adults who have the same career aspirations as you?
Seek a mentor.
Okay.
You have to have a mentor in this business. I'm actually looking into getting an intern for the summer. Be realistic in your goals. That's not to say don't have dreams and don't dream big, but you also have to be realistic, and you have to plan. You have to plan, and you have to do the work. And I think for me, I think everybody graduates law school and they think, okay, now I'm going to have just a great life. And
Right.
It doesn't work that way, because you've got to do the work. You've got to find the balance. If you're going to have a family, male or female, you have to find that balance. So I would say definitely seek a mentor. Definitely do the work. You have to, in this field, be the top of the top of the top. So if you go to law school, you got to get on the law review. You got to get on the moot court. You have to get a clerkship with a really good judge. You have to find a job your second year of law school at a really good firm, because that sort of sets your path, if that's a path you want to go.
Right.
So, I think everyone should take time off after undergrad before they go to law school. I think someone should take a year or two off. I felt like I was sort of behind because I was 2 years older than everyone in my class. But I also felt I was a little bit more prepared for the outside world,
Okay.
for the working world.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
This was a very interesting, insightful interview for myself, because some of the things you said I would have never thought about. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for the interview.
Thank you.